This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, January 5th, 2009, and this is episode 509 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding. Also joining me is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Matt. Today I thought I'd pause from my usual stick, and I think I'd wish Len and everybody good luck in the upcoming Walt Disney World Marathon weekend. I want to wish Len good luck, and I want to also invite everyone to visit my blog over at All Ears, because I have a special message for everybody who is running this weekend.
Does it say good luck, bro?
Good luck, bro. Exactly.
Good luck, bro.
my first marathon. I'm very excited. Thank you.
And also joining us today is Mikey Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Matt. What's going on?
Hey, Mike, I was doing some thinking over the weekend. I think you need a cool, snazzy title like Scopa has. He has senior feature writer. So work on that for the next show if you could.
I'll come up with something.
All right, sounds cool. And also joining us is Pam Brandon, author of the Disney cookbooks Delicious Disney and the new Delicious Disney Desserts book, as well as, of course, the Cooking with Disney book, a book that many of you probably already have. So welcome to the show, Pam.
Hey, guys. How are you?
It's great to have you on board here, Pam. You have quite a history of writing Disney cookbooks. Before we get into kind of the topic here today, I just wanted to kind of get a sense of how did you get involved with Disney and all these cookbooks? Because they brought you back many, many times to write some different books and what have you. So what got you involved into the whole Disney World aspect?
I started my Disney career as a publicist. I worked for Disney, for the company, in publicity from 87 to 1995. And when I left the company, I started doing some consulting work, but I also started writing. I wrote another cookbook. I wrote some guidebooks. It was sort of a backwards entry into the world of cooking. I'm not a trained chef. I'm a home-trained cook, but I'm also a journalist, a writer. So I started writing books. I proposed an idea to Disney Publishing for the first Cooking with Mickey and the Disney Chefs book. And the rest, they say, is history.
Awesome. Now, these books that, if you're wondering, these books are available through Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Line. So these are books you have to get by taking a trip to Disney. I know something that many of our listeners will just have to deal with somehow. They'll find a way to deal with it.
Another burden that they'll have to overcome.
Exactly. Now, your newest book which came out in November, if I'm not mistaken, is the Delicious Disney Desserts book. And far be it from us to be ones to not talk about desserts, obviously a favorite topic of many of ours. Pam, talk about a little bit when you were doing the research for the book, and I know that was probably very arduous and a task somebody had to handle, but when you're doing this research for the book, what dessert really surprised you the most by being the most tasty and you weren't expecting it?
Oh, boy, that's tough to answer. And you know what happens? I start with 150, 200 recipes, and the paring down process begins. Disneyland, Disney World, and Disney Cruise Line. So it was a process of just boiling down the recipes to get the 15, 20 perfect recipes. I would tell you the one I really love the most, one of my favorites, and it's the one we used on the cover. It's a lemon cornbread that's a strawberry. Instead of a shortcake, it's a lemon cornbread strawberry dessert from Chef Stefan Reamer at Yacht and Beach Club. And it's wonderful and it's easy to make. All the desserts in the books, I will tell you, have been home tested in either my kitchen or another home tester's kitchen. So they're all easy. We've made them, we've adapted the recipes from the Disney kitchens. So they're very easy for you to make at home.
Well, so you've tested all these. How do you go about soliciting recipes from Disney? You just walk up to, you just pick up the phone and call somebody at Yachtsman's Steakhouse and said, I need a recipe for desserts?
If I've tasted something fantastic, I will immediately find that. I have a great partner in Walt Disney World Food and Beverage. Her name is Karen Haynes, and Karen works with the food and beverage team, and we have partnered to work on these books. So she is my sort of inside connection. And when I'm really trying something that I love, the oatmeal raisin cookies, for instance, from the Grand Floridian, unbelievable. Of course, they have rum in them, so that could be why.
And again, and you had to cook all of these at home. You had to cook them. You had to make every one of these recipes again.
I have my, yes, they're all tested. Either I've done or I have two other testers. So between the three of us, because, of course, the Disney chefs and the pastry chefs are creating these recipes for, hundreds of people. So
Right.
even if they give you a recipe that they say makes 4 dozen, you always have to test it and retest it. And ideally about 2 dozen of anything is all anybody really wants to make. So there's a lot of tweaking of these recipes.
That's right.
But they do stay true to the original recipes.
Do they require any sort of special equipment, most of these recipes, or are you using just, blenders and bowls and stuff that everyone has?
Yeah, we steer away from anything that needs really special equipment, other than blenders and spoons and mixers, because, most home cooks, they really do want to make the things from the book. Another favorite of mine was the Bananas Foster Angel Food Cake. And it's from Boatwright, Port Orleans, a family style, service restaurant. And you just use angel food cake, but it's that Bananas Foster that you make. Of course, it has rum again, so maybe I'm on a streak here. But
I love this. I love this recipe book already.
Yeah.
I sense a trend developing.
Yeah.
Now, Pam, let me ask you this. Have you ever run into a situation where you find a really good dessert or a recipe in general, want to put it in the book or at least want to try it, and the chef is kind of, protective of it? It's kind of his or her baby. Have you ever run into that?
No, that has not. I can't remember a single instance where that's happened. I do recall times when we've gotten recipes that we just thought were awful, and we
Really?
just make them work. And I won't name names. I can't think of one off the top of my head, even if I could. But yes, there have been recipes we've said, no, this is just not going to work.
Interesting.
Yours is actually, I was looking through the cookbook, Cooking with Mickey and the Disney Chef's book, which I believe I got mine used on Amazon, by the way, but it was still actually at the exact same price as the cover. So apparently the gray market for your books is still really, really healthy. But two things were interesting. One is the recipe. You have the recipe in there for the cheddar cheese soup from Canada, and I did not know it had both Tabasco and Worcestershire sauce in it. That was interesting.
That is one of the most requested recipes from Disney World. And I will tell you that we tweaked that recipe again for Delicious Disney. As we tend to do, we always retest with all the books. And I can't remember exactly why we changed it, but the Blue Cookbook, I think the soup was too thick. So I've often recommended when anybody's making that soup to add a little extra milk if you've got the Blue Cookbook. But the Delicious Disney Cookbook, I think we perfected it.
That's fabulous. So that's the new cookbook that has it?
Yes. But that's a recipe I certainly would be happy for the list to give to the listeners. And it is always the most requested. That and the Tonga toast from
that's the other thing I noticed. It had Tonga toast on there. But I'm going through the original cookbook, and it's like every classic dish that I could think of from any restaurant. You've actually got the monkfish from Jico in it.
Yes, and monkfish sort of comes and goes as one of those sustainable fishes. So now I think they're doing that same dish with another fish, but it's that tomato butter sauce. You could eat that on any fish, and it would be delicious.
Oh, fabulous!
Hey Pam, over the years have you developed any close relationships with any of the Disney chefs?
Oh, are you kidding? Some of them are my best friends.
Oh, no.
My daughter's getting married in May, and guess who's making the wedding cake?
Really?
Wow. Publix?
Winn-Dixie?
No, I'm paying for that wedding cake. But no,
Wow.
I do. I have great relationships with the Disney chefs because I've worked with them really since when I left the company in '95. I've done a lot of consulting work with food and beverage, and a lot of them are European trained, and they're so passionate about what they're doing. So it's been a terrific joy to edit these cookbooks.
I can imagine. A lot of these recipes that you have throughout the cookbooks are, I mean, they range from different restaurants, both in the parks and outside of the parks. And focusing on your dessert book, which just recently came out, Pam, talk a little bit about. Have you found that there are certain parks or certain resorts or something have you found like some sort of concentration of really good recipes in a particular restaurant or area?
Well, I think the resort restaurants, the chefs have a little bit more time to play with the recipes. And for instance, at the Grand Floridian, Chef Eric Herbacek, he is a master pastry chef from Austria, classically trained. So, and he makes those oatmeal raisin cookies, by the way. That's his recipe. And even an oatmeal raisin cookie, it's just the best. And so I do think at Stefan Riemer at the Yacht and Beach Club, again, is another chef who just does, he is German.
Pedigree.
He and Eric are probably two of the tip top, but Andreas Born, who's at Boardwalk, and in the parks, there certainly are great pastry chefs as well. But I think the resort chefs just tend to, especially the Grand Floridian, just have a little bit more time to be creative.
What was the largest challenge for you in writing this book, the dessert book specifically?
Paring down the recipes. It was really difficult because there are so many great ones. And then there are the classics from Disneyland, the beignets, or in Delicious Disney, the Hush Puppies. Those kind of basic recipes, but everybody, those are the great memories. And, so much of food is tied to memory. So you want to have those in, but you also want to have very contemporary recipes. You want to have some that are, you do want to throw in a few low-calorie recipes. I mean...
What are those?
What? I'm sorry, you're breaking up. You said something about low-calorie?
Yeah. I don't think the dessert cookbook, well, we do have a sugar-free cheesecake in there. But, the Delicious Disney book has a great papaya avocado grapefruit salad from Gico. So we do have... it's shooting for that combination of...
With rum. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, Pam, the gals from MEI and Mouse Band Travel, I'm sure, are yelling at their iPods right now because we're talking about desserts, and someone who joins us on the show very often, Annette Owens, loves the souffles, the chocolate souffles on the Disney Cruise Line. Have you had a chance to A, sample them, or B, include a recipe on them?
Yes, the souffles are in, and I'm not sure. I think it's the Delicious Disney cookbook, and that is the cruise ship souffle. So yeah, of course I've sampled that, and it's fabulous.
Pam, what do you have? So now that you've done this dessert book, what's next in the works? You have other cooking projects?
Well, I do, and there's another Disney cookbook that we're just now beginning to work on with Disney Publishing, but I can't tell you much about it because it's not a done deal. But we also hope the small Delicious Disney series, the dessert cookbook, that we'd love to do more of those, of the smaller ones, because the price point on that book is $14.95, so it's a great souvenir.
Oh, wow.
You also can get it on mail order, by the way.
Yeah, we'll put, if you can provide the details to our listeners, we'll post it on the show notes so that our listeners can either get it via mail order or order over the phone.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, Pam, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on, and we hope to have you on again to talk about some of your other works.
Would love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's it for us today. If you want to find our earlier episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Sopa, Mike Newell, and Pam Brandon, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.